Hi, everybody. This is Caleb Rothy, the Percussion Education Coordinator for WGI Sport of the Arts, and I'm joined tonight by Mark Thurston, the Director of Percussion for WGI. Mark, thanks so much for joining me.
Awesome to be here, Caleb.
And for everybody tuning in, we are going to be talking about World Championships tonight. So Mark and I are incredibly excited for this. We've been trying to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, get everything ready to go. And we thought what we would do tonight is get together and talk a little bit about World Championships and give you maybe a couple of tips and suggestions so that you and your ensemble and your performers and your parents and everybody can be as prepared as possible for this. So Mark, I think we should just kick this straight off and talk about maybe the advancement process, how an ensemble gets from prelims to semifinals and finals. And I know this will be rather lengthy. So if you're watching this, you can just kind of skip ahead and seek out the part for your specific class. But we do want to go through all those details so that everybody has all the information ahead of the event.
So a few notes for the advancement process. First of all, anytime we have rounds, the judges can reuse all of their numbers in all of their rounds. Anytime multiple rounds merge into another round, the same panel of judges is used. And anytime you see wild cards used for advancement, this is to make sure that the correct ensembles advance in the event of a round being heavy with higher scoring ensembles. The performance order for advancing rounds are all by reverse score order from the previous round. And if there's any ties for advancing ensembles, performance order is determined by the random number competition suite has assigned to your ensemble, and all ties in finals will stand. So let's start with the A class. In PSA prelims, there's 47 ensembles competing. PSA round 1 has 11 ensembles. The top 3 scores will advance to the PSA semifinal round 1. PSA round 2 has 12 ensembles. The top 3 scores will advance to the PSA semifinal round 1. Along with those 6 ensembles, the next 6 highest scoring ensembles from round 1 and round 2 combined will advance to the PSA semifinal round 1. Performance order in the PSA semifinal round 1 will be reverse score order of all 12 ensembles, regardless of which round they come from. PSA round 3 has 12 ensembles. The top 3 will advance there to the PSA semifinal round 2. PSA round 4 has 12 ensembles. The top 3 scores will advance to PSA semifinal round 2. And again, along with those 6, the next 6 highest scoring ensembles from round 3 and 4 combined will advance to the PSA semifinal round 2. Performance order in the PSA semifinal round 2 will be reverse score order of all 12 ensembles, regardless of which round they come from. The PSA semifinal round 1 and round 2 both have 12 ensembles. The top 15 scores from both rounds combined advance to the PSA final. Ensembles will perform in reverse score order from the PSA semifinal. Got all that, Caleb?
Yep, I'm with you.
It gets a little easier now. PIA prelims has 17 ensembles competing. PIA round 1 has 9 ensembles. PIA round 2 has 8 ensembles. The top 15 scores from both rounds combined advance to the PIA finals. Ensembles will perform in reverse score order from prelims. PSCA prelims has 10 ensembles competing. The top 5 scores will advance to the PSCA final based on a formula of 50% of the class up to 12. Ensembles will perform in reverse order from prelims. Moving on to the open class. PSCO has 6 ensembles competing. All 6 will advance to the PSCO final based on a formula of 75% of the class, which is 4.5, rounded up to 5, and we never eliminate 1. Ensembles will perform in reverse score order from prelims. PSO prelims has 36 ensembles competing. And this PSO model is exactly like the PSA model. Mm-hmm. PSO round 1 has 9 ensembles. Top 3 advance to PSO semifinal round 1. PSO round 2 has 9 ensembles. Top 3 scores advance to PSO semifinal round 1. Along with those 6, the next 6 highest scoring ensembles from round 1 and round 2 combined will advance to the PSO semifinal round 1. Performance order in the PSO semifinal round 1 will be based by reverse score order of all 12 ensembles, regardless of which round they come from. PSO round 3 has 9 ensembles. Top 3 scores advance to PSO semifinal round 2. PSO round 4 has 9 ensembles. Top 3 scores advance to PSO semifinal round 2. Along with those 6 ensembles, the next 6 highest scoring ensembles from round 3 and round 4 combined will advance to the PSO semifinal round 2. Performance order in the PSO semifinal round 2 will be based by reverse score order of all 12 ensembles, regardless of which round they come from. PSO semifinal round 1 and round 2 both have 12 ensembles. The top 15 ensembles from both rounds combined advance to the PSO final. Ensembles will perform in reverse score order from the PSO semifinal. PIO has 25 ensembles competing. PIO round 1 has 13 ensembles, and PIO round 2 has 12 ensembles. The top 20 scores from both rounds combined advance to the PIO semifinals. Performance order in PIO semifinal is reverse score order from prelims. The PIO semifinal is 1 round, and the top 15 scores will advance to the PIO final. Performance order in PIO final is reverse score order from semis. And now we move on to the world class. PSCW has 6 ensembles competing, and all 6 ensembles will advance to the PSCW finals. Performance order will be reverse score order from prelims. PSW has 18 ensembles competing. PSW round 1 has 9 ensembles. PSW round 2 has 9 ensembles, and all 18 ensembles will advance to the PSW semifinal. Performance order for the PSW semifinal will be reverse score order of the preliminary. The PSW semifinal will be 1 round with the top 15 scores advancing to the PSW final. And finally, PIW has 29 ensembles competing. PIW round 1 has 14 ensembles. PIW round 2 has 15 ensembles. And the top 20 scores from both rounds combined advance to the PIW semifinal. Performance order for the PIW semifinal is reverse score order from prelims. The PIW semifinal will be 1 round with the top 15 scores advancing to the PIW final. And that's how we advance.
So obviously that's a lot to commit to memory right now. So this video might be a good one for you to go ahead and bookmark and save. And then just when you're at the World Championships experience, let's say you're a Scholastic A ensemble, and it's the day of the event and you're trying to figure out, are we going to advance? Are we not? What kind of score and placement do we need? You can always pull this up and kind of refresh your memory here, and then do the same thing for semifinals as you're looking to get into finals. But we've got it all here. It's documented, and hopefully you'll know now exactly how we'll progress through each one of those rounds. So, Mark, it's been a couple of years since we've done this thing, and at this point, we're all probably a little rusty. We remember vaguely what the experience is like. We know what the lot scene is like, but some of the details may escape us at this point. So, what Mark and I were thinking we would do tonight is to kind of walk through a little bit what the flow is going to be once you're on site, both the outdoor experience and the indoor experience, and you know, hopefully point out a couple of things that have been a little problematic and a little bit of a challenge in the past, so that we give everybody a chance to hit the ground running and have an awesome experience this season. So what we want to do is we want to start off first with arriving at the venue that you're going to perform at. And the routine for this is very similar, whether you're going to be at UD Arena or Nutter Center, or whether you're going to be at Truist Arena. What you'll want to do is make sure that you pull up the logistics schedule for each one of those sites. The schedule is mostly for parents and spectators and things like that. As the ensemble lead, you're going to want to have that logistics schedule available. And the first thing you'll notice on there is there's a column that says parking lot check-in. And that is literally the time that your full ensemble should be arriving at your venue. So that's when your trucks, your buses, any of your vans or anything like that, they all need to arrive at that time. We are asking for ensembles to make sure that they're arriving according to that logistics schedule and not coming in early. If you come early, you're likely going to be blocked from coming into the parking lot, and you just kind of have to circle the block a couple of times. So the closer you can get to that arrival time, the better. And that's just because there are a lot of trucks and buses and vans and box trucks and trailers that at each one of these venues, and it's a lot to coordinate. And so if everybody arrives according to their logistics schedule, it makes it much easier to be able to coordinate the parking lots. The other thing I want to point out is once you have that logistics schedule, this is going to basically lock in all of your timelines for the entire flow. So you'll notice that there's a specific time to arrive at the parking lot. Then there's a specific time where you're going to either unload and start warming up if you're at UD Arena or Nutter Center, because again, your trucks and buses will pull right into your alpha lot zone. You're going to unload right in that zone and you'll warm up in that zone. The one that's just a little bit different is at Truist Arena, which is formerly BB&T. There you're going to pull in and park, but you won't be parking in your alpha zone. So you're going to unload next to your truck, and then there's an extra little cushion of transit time to push your gear from your truck over to your alpha lot zone. And then you have a scheduled time to begin warming up in that alpha zone. So again, all of this is in that logistics schedule. You just want to make sure you have that one bookmarked and that you're building out your ensemble schedule based on exactly what it says in the logistics schedule. Mark, anything to add so far, or should we move on to the tents and things like that?
Let's move on. So it sounds like you got it all.
Okay, very good. So you'll notice on that logistics schedule that there is an area in there that says tent warmup begins and tent warmup concludes, or alpha warmup concludes. And we just want to point out that all three of our sites will have tents, an A/B tent, where you will have up to a double interval of warmup time in that tent. But we want to point out that this is totally optional. So if the weather is nice and you want to do all of your warmup in your alpha zone, you can do that and never go by the tent at all. If, on the other hand, we have some inclement weather, or maybe you just have part of your ensemble or even the whole ensemble that you want to go underneath the tent for a little while, you'll just want to kind of look ahead and figure out, okay, if I'm going to use the tent, what time do I have access to this tent? Now, the one thing to point out on this is that the tent time is very specifically an exact double interval. So you're either going to have it for 18 minutes if you're an A-class ensemble, 20 minutes for open class, or 22 minutes for world class. And I'm going to use open class as an example right now. That 20 minutes is the literal amount of time that you have to be in the tent. So that has to include all of your entry, your setup, your warm up, your breakdown, and your exit. That's got to fit in that 18, 20, or 22, because right at the time that you're supposed to exit, the next ensemble is supposed to be pushing in. So if you do make use of the tent, you've got to be very, very strict with your timeline for that, not entering early, and definitely not exiting late. You got to kind of build that into your tent time. All right, the last thing on the logistics schedule that we want to point out is the, you'll notice on there that there is a specific report time for the top of the tunnel at UD. And if you're at Nutter Center or you're at Truist Arena, it says meet at loading dock instead. And that is the time that we want your ensemble to basically arrive at pre-stage and enter into the building. We want to ask that everybody try to arrive according to that time as close as possible, and try not to come early to that, just so that we don't get, ensembles backed up in that place where there are three ensembles that are early and now they're all congregating. There's not really extra room for that. So if you can make sure that you're taking a look at that arrival time and trying to be as spot on for that, that'll help out with the flow of the event as well. And it'll also help to not have your students standing around extra and kind of getting cold. You want them to be able to go straight from warm up, and flow right onto the floor and have an amazing World Championship performance. So Mark, I think next we should probably turn our attention to inside the building. Once you arrive at the tunnel or at the loading dock and you're behind the curtain, you're the next one on, what do ensembles need to know about that portion?
First of all three sites have vertical timelines and the flow goes from right to left. At Truist and Nutter Center, space is plentiful, so getting in and out of that is pretty easy. UD is a little bit more challenging because we have the tunnel. The latest tunnel specs, including the tunnel that we created for prep, is all set, and that document, if it's not already out, should be out by Friday with all the new tunnel specs on it. In phase 3 of the UD renovation, the back hallway, which used to be a little bit harder to get to, it now has a double door that right when you get to the bottom of the tunnel, you can turn left and go right into, and it's big. So we're asking ensembles to plan for that and take advantage of that space. And you just got to plan who's going back there and then how they come out and all that. You're going to have to figure all that out.
Yeah, but it basically gives you two pathways: the main tunnel at UD, or not the tunnel, but behind the curtain, that the horizontal
Right.
tunnel right behind the floor. And a lot of stuff can go in there, but then you've also got the hallway inside the like brick and mortar building right behind that. And so now you've got two channels. Maybe props are on one side, instruments on another, or maybe all the battery drums are going down the hallway and all the keyboard instruments are going down the tunnel. That's up to each ensemble, but you've got both those spaces, correct, Mark?
Correct. So another thing that we need to talk to everybody about is the interval timing. That's the toughest thing that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And just a few things to keep in mind. First of all, before your interval time starts, it's important to take advantage of the time that the ensemble in front of you is giving you. So a couple of common mistakes that happen are not getting your floor set halfway, or just bringing your set out in a different order, and you're not maximizing the efficiency you have. Remember, it's the interval time is when we're ready to go, not when you're ready to go. So if you bring your front ensemble down to halfway, but the floor is still in the back tent and we say go, you got to be ready to go. So that's super, super important to make sure that we're prepared for that.
Yeah, and if the show's running on schedule, and hopefully they're going to be, hopefully nobody's getting those delay of show penalties. But if your performance time is 10:12, then precisely at 10:12, that's when the TMP judge is going to say, cross that line, let's go. And so if you've got an extra 20 seconds where you can kind of pre-stage some stuff, we usually call that the pre-interval. Pull your stuff in and get as much ready to go, like Mark said, and then be prepared right on their mark to move across and get ready to let it rip.
Yeah, and one of the biggest mistakes we see, Caleb, is that when people do open up their floor, actually just take it off the cart, it's either too far, a lot of times it's too far forward. So then they have to move it back, and then the pit doesn't have time to get set up. So take advantage of that space. There's going to be 72 feet out there, which is something we're not normally used to. So maybe look at it from the back. You can always pull it forward at the last second. And there's a couple key things there. Another thing is to plan on the 8-second announcement that comes right when you give the TMP judge the go signal. There is, presenting their program, and it talks all about that. And people don't think that that's 8 seconds of your interval time. So you might have to anticipate it if you're short on time. Just make sure you understand that that's part of your interval time.
And remember, you're the one that gets to trigger that too. So when you're ready to go, you let the TMP judge know. They will then point to the announcer, which will trigger that announcement. So you're in control. If you're like, okay, we're 2 seconds away from being ready, you can go ahead and have that TMP judge start based on your anticipation.
And lastly, and most importantly, after you clear the timeline, you're supposed to keep moving. So the rule book says, keep making forward progress. And a lot of times we get people and they get to that timeline and they stop and celebrate and check on, and they're going nuts. And we find out that the other group should be coming at that time. They should be pulling over, and there's not enough room because you haven't kept your forward motion going. So make sure that you just keep going and then get yourself up the tunnel, because the flaw in our design is that the first group comes out, and 10 minutes later, if you're open class, once you pull, the other group should be pulling right at 10:10, not 10 and 45 seconds, because we all know if we add 30 seconds to everyone's show interval time, by the end of the night, we're 45 minutes behind schedule, and we can't do that.
Yeah, we always talk about that interval time being technically your total time, on the floor in the building. Like when the curtain's open to when the curtain closes, that's the interval. So if that's how you've built your show, you're good to go. There's nothing to worry about at all. If your show's running a little long, you got to do like Mark said and make sure that you're making forward progress up that tunnel. The good news is if everybody is, 15, 20 seconds under their interval, this thing works like clockwork and it's awesome. It's only when we have groups that start getting that interval time penalty that we start to run into issues, A, keeping the show on time, and B, giving the next ensemble a chance to get in and get their performance launched, and then get up the tunnel after they're done. So that's the goal, at least.
Another thing is make sure that you're familiar with the 3 arenas and where the sound engineer seats are, so that you can get to those seats prior to the show beginning. I know at UD Arena, especially for our world-class ensembles on Saturday night when the place is full, it's difficult to get from the floor to those seats. So you're going to have to coordinate your time and make sure that you're in those seats when the show starts, because we don't want security to not allow you to get there because you're coming up and the show had already started. So make sure you're there. And then while you're in those seats, remember that that's for mixing and for sound. That's not for standing up and screaming, because you're going to be right in front of the judges. And typically they would love to be able to see everything that's going on the floor. And so make sure that you're taking
distraction free is the key word on that. I mean,
Yes.
you're at UD Arena, you're literally 2 or 3 seats in front of the judge. So when you stand up, the effect judge now cannot see anything. When you're, like very loud and demonstrative, they can't hear what the performers are doing. So just be cool. And like Mark said, that's for mixing, not for celebrating necessarily.
Yes. And another thing I know that the judges have always said to us is they get very distracted when staffs start crashing the floor before the show's over. They do see people heading down aisles, running down aisles, and it is distracting to the audience as well. So make sure that you're coordinating your time, and when you leave the upper areas, you're not doing it too early.
Yeah, we want to ask, let the program end, play the last note. Hopefully you let your performers soak up some of that applause for a second, and then start making your way down to the floor, rather than, there's 10 seconds left to go and the whole staff is tearing down the stairs. That's got the potential to just ruin the effect and the moment for your performance at the end. So let's try to avoid that.
Another point that we wanted to bring up to you is it's been a month since we've seen you. So some of you may have put on a new ending or added something, or maybe a new sample or things like that. Make sure if there's something that's borderline, especially if it's sampling or time in your show, that you're really paying attention to that. And if something might be a rule violation, any kind of safety violation or anything like that, make sure you get it to us so we can take a look at it prior to finding out at prelims that maybe you were 7 feet off the ground, those kind of things.
Yeah, always better safe than sorry in that regard. So remember, you can send those things in to have it looked at or kind of vetted and approved ahead of time. That's always good. Like Mark said, if you've got something that's questionable or it's kind of borderline, good protocol for that. Mark, let's talk a little bit about staff and floor crew seating. I know there's designated seats at all of the arenas, and so you can always look for that. But usually during prelims and semifinals, the arenas aren't necessarily so crowded that you wouldn't be able to find a seat somewhere. However, when we get to finals, it kind of changes a little bit. So can you go through where those seats might be available?
Yes. So world-class finals is the biggest problem just because of the amount of people that are in the building. So if you're looking at the floor over on side 2, the first row in the ends over there, I think it's section 109, there is an entire row for a floor crew. So once the people are done setting up, there's 12 or so seats there that are available. Also, when you come up the steps, where you normally come up the steps, I think it's at 113, there is 3 seats right on the end right there for staff, which is going to put you right close to the floor. And then beyond that, all the way up the stairs, if you go up to where the first landing is, there's a standing room up there for the rest of the staff. And it's a pretty good place to watch your ensemble. So we have those 3 areas. If you have a whole bunch of people and you're not going to fit in those 3 areas, some people are just going to have to run behind a curtain and then come back out at the end, because some people, get extra help on the last day, and we just can't fit them all in the arena.
Yeah, if you've got extra helpers, you might want to mention that ahead of time, and just know if they're not in one of those zones, they're going to have to be behind the curtain. They won't be able to watch the performance. So best to plan this out ahead of time. I also wanted to mention, for the staff that goes up to the landing, it's always best if they can kind of start making their way there a bit before the ensemble is done with the setup, so that they're in position and aren't a distraction. But we always know there's 1 or 2 key staff members that are cueing the TMP judge. Okay, we're ready to go. Usually for those performers, there's not enough time, or those staff members, there's not enough time to make it up to the top. So that's what those 3 seats are for down low, is if you're the last one off the floor, boom, there's a seat right for you, right when you get to the spectator area in that first row. So just know that that's available in case you're searching around there at the last minute.
So let's make sure we practice our entry and exit. Get some time, talk about it. Most of it has to do with just organizing your staff and your crews getting on and off the floor. You want to make sure that is in tip-top shape, ready to go. And we just can't wait to see everybody. It's been a while. We're going to have 406 performances next week, and I can't wait to see every single one of them. I know everybody has worked really hard to get to this point, and we are beyond excited to see the event here.
Yeah. I've always said this is my favorite week of the year by far, and I've been deprived of that for several years now. So I can't wait to get back there to Dayton and to have everybody in town together and just create this community again that is so amazing every time we have the World Championships event. And I want to say, when you're traveling out there, yes, it's a competitive event, and yes, your students want to do well and they want to place well and they want to advance to the next round. I'd encourage everybody, though, to try to make the event much bigger than just the competitive aspect of it. Get in there, watch some other ensembles, make time to go to the expo tent and check that out. Check out some groups in the lot. Teach your students to be super fans of the activity, to be invested in everybody's success. And the last thing I want to ask for is I would love for all of the arenas to feel like they are on fire the entire time. So if you can talk to your parents and your students ahead of time about the idea of we clap for everybody, we cheer for everybody, we try to make this an amazing environment for every single ensemble that takes the floor. If you can be a part of that, it's really going to heighten the entire World Championships experience. So I've been missing this for a long time, and I can't wait to get back to it. All right, everybody, I think that's it. Mark and I are headed out here in a couple of days, and we will see all of you in Dayton, Ohio for the 2022 WGI World Championships. Safe travels to you and your ensemble. And if you see Mark or myself walking around any of the lots or the arenas at some point, don't be afraid to come up and say hello. We'd love to see you and kind of hear from everybody. All right, everybody, take care.